Hello everyone. Again, welcome to my YouTube channel. This episode is the 32nd installment in my program, Social Change, How and When Will It Come True? In our last episode, that was our 31st installment, I started talking about illiteracy and low literacy. In this installment and the next, I will continue dealing on the subject. Despite its free basic education, the Philippines is still confronted with a huge number of out-of-school youth who are out in the streets and who face exploitation in all forms, according to former Education Secretary Jeslie Lapus in a press statement. The result, naturally, is a denial of education formalism to an increasing number of Philippine inhabitants, 3/4 of whom live in the rural areas. This, which is admittedly in disproportion worldwide, is staggeringly ominous for any social progress to go through in a spirit of universal coordination and harmony. And social problems, more than continuing, have all the hazards of growing much worse year after year. For one thing, we find the majority of these school leavers to be mostly unemployed or underemployed, and therefore, without any doubt, poverty-stricken. Recognition had to be reserved, of course, for the industry and initiative of some ex-schoolers who have made use of their inborn talent for self-development. One of society's little-known, though of wide-ranging concepts, hold much the truism that exceptions to general rules are few. Indeed, when we refer, for instance, to the multitudes of school dropouts and stopouts throughout the world, we find only few of them to have achieved success. In other words, these few men and women are what we call as the exceptionals. They come out to be the cream of those who otherwise would have remained lowly educated and be jobless or be in economic and financial handicaps all their lives, or of those who would really be out of school and be non-productive or failures for the rest of their lifetime. But what is regrettable is the fact that most of them, numbering as many as those who are in the formal system by themselves, constitute as a regressive force in all actions of general concern. They are in such a situation simply for their lack of training and knowledge or employable skills because of their meager schooling. Being without the necessary technical know-how, according to one observer, they comprise a tremendous drag in the country's economic productivity. At this point, let me show you a perspective of illiteracy and low literacy trends worldwide. Based on the Global Education Monitoring or GEM report 2020 in behalf of UNESCO, as of 2020, there were over 781 million adults in the world who cannot read or write a simple sentence and are therefore considered illiterate. On the other hand, Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia online, states that nearly 2/3 of these 781 million illiterate adults are women, and according to another source, the number of these women who cannot read nor write is increasing. Included here also are the more than 100 million young people between 15 and 24 years of age who are illiterate. Furthermore, over 75% of this world's 781 million illiterate adults can be found in Sub-Saharan Africa, Southern Asia, and Western Asia. These regions, in fact, are where the poorest countries in the world are located. Based on the report published online on August 17, 2022 by the Statista Research Department, in 2019, the illiteracy rate among adults 15 years of age and older categorized by world region was 37.7% in Sub-Saharan Africa, 27.1% in South Asia, 20.6% in the Arab states, 6.3% in Latin America and the Caribbean, and 4.2% in East Asia and the Pacific. On the other hand, North America, Europe, and Central Asia jointly account for only 1.5% or less than 2% illiteracy rate. For in fact, developed nations in those regions I have just mentioned have the most literate populations, considering that most of those countries report over 96% to 99.2% high literacy among youth and adults below the age of 65. No doubt there appears to be a direct relationship between illiteracy and poverty. They coexist with each other. In poverty-stricken areas, the availability of education is much lesser, if not totally inaccessible. Moreover, illiterate individuals and or those with low levels of literacy are more likely to experience poorer employment opportunities. We are therefore trapped in a vicious cycle. People are poor because they are unemployed, without means of income earned from employment. They face difficulties in supporting themselves and their families. They are unemployed because they are either illiterate or low literates. Without the necessary educational qualifications, employment opportunities for these people, of course, are limited. They are literates or low literates simply because they are poor. Without the much needed income, they are unable to pay the cost of education. And whatever is worse is that this vicious cycle tends to naturally breed other equally serious or even more grievous problems of society. Precisely, then, recognize the situations urgently requiring preferential attention on the part of every government or nation on earth are problems directly pertaining to illiteracy or low literacy, or what is collectively known as low or less education, and more so with miseducation or education abuse or misuse, because of which dishonesty in people has become predominating misconception. This, I firmly believe, is basic or the root cause of practically all other problems, such as selfishness, injustice, juvenile and or adult delinquency, stealing or robbery, drug abuse or addiction, child labor, prostitution, rape, murder, and other heinous crimes. For what sense, if a society made up of individuals are to do as they wish, to the total detriment of others? In human societies, the right of every person is to live a life of human beings, not that some act as humans while others are as animals. This because the weakness of one of them becomes the weakness of all. Indeed, the individual is part of society. What hurts him hurts that of which he is a part. For surely the strength of individuals make up for strong societies. What indeed the new society of the modern world needs, especially for that social order which is following, is no less than what is called high technology, Such is the thing necessarily incumbent upon every human person to possess. The environment of that coming situation will require nothing less than illogically trained working class. Such is the only kind of people expected to give meaningful life for physical and intellectual strength in such a social order of psychotechnical harmony for progress and continuity. In fact, in terms of social ills, the prevailing state of illiteracy is continuously worsened and even in much more calamitous increase in numbers by an overwhelming increasing rate in low literacy populations of the world. The situation thus presents itself to be more widespread as a malignant malcondition, especially for the low literates, than it does as an obnoxious misfortune for the illiterates. Its ill effects are notoriously antisocial, just as those of illiteracy are. Yet, illiteracy involves a much lesser number of victims than that of low literacy. The latter has been continuing to increase as much as tenfold or even much more annually in all nations throughout the world. In our next episode, that will be our 33rd installment, I will continue dealing on the subject of illiteracy and low literacy. If you enjoyed viewing my program, I'd like to invite you to please click the like button. And for those who have not placed their subscriptions yet, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let me end this 32nd episode with these inspiring messages from the Bible. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 32. Inexperienced people die because they reject wisdom. Stupid people are destroyed by their own lack of concern. Then here's another one, Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 12. For the protection of wisdom is like the protection of money, and the advantage of knowledge is that wisdom preserves the life of him who has it. Thank you, my friends. Let's meet again in our next episode.